Hey everybody, John Huber here, Maryland K-12. If you've been following, some of what I'm yapping about online here the past, week or so, I'm talking about this case in Virginia, Newport News, Virginia, where a first grade student basically shot a teacher, didn't kill her, shot her, and now it's in the courts. The civil trial, getting old, it's a little slow coming out. The civil trial is over, and they found in favor of the plaintiff, which was the victim, the teacher victim. They awarded her $11 million, I think it was. And now in May, it was already been delayed once. Who knows when will happen? The criminal trial. They are trying to prosecute this assistant principal. Her name's Ebony Parker. And they're trying to prosecute her with like 8 felony counts or 5 felony counts or something like that of malicious, this, that, and the other. If they find her guilty of all this stuff, she's going to do a lot of time. This is just a terrible situation. So when I look at this, and, I look at the whole situation, and I have a couple of different angles on it. And there's a lot going on both sides, as I said. So let's get into a little bit, and I'll try not to go too long. The longer I speak, the less people listen. So let's look at the defense's argument is basically they're saying that the teachers should have done something. They would, they've asked multiple, why didn't you call a lockdown? Talking to the teachers, did you call a lockdown? Did you call a lockdown? What did you do? The bottom line is teachers don't do that. They can't do that. They don't know how to do that. Suppose a teacher said, yeah, I would, if you're a teacher, okay, I'm going to do a lockdown. How do they do that? They don't know how to do that. What do they just pick up the phone and get on the intercom? Most PA systems don't allow that. So they couldn't do that. They did what they were directed to do, and that is they told an administrator multiple times. And every time this was met with, from what I read, it was met with nothing. Like there was just no response. And at some point, the assistant principal said that she would not allow another teacher. The guidance counselor even said, well, let me search the kid. They had looked at his backpack. And if you read my article, you'll see all the details. They looked at his backpack. They didn't find anything. But then the teacher said, well, that's because I just saw him when he went to recess. He took something out of his backpack, put it in his pocket. They took that information to the assistant principal, and basically she said, well, he has small pockets. He couldn't fit anything in there. Besides, and she kept saying, his mom's on the way up. Now, there's another little tidbit of information. The mom's on the way up. I have dug and dug and dug, and I cannot find any instance anywhere where it was actually corroborated that the mother was in fact called and was in fact on her way up. I mean, you'd have to take her at her word, but I mean, you just don't know. Now, part of the problem is that this assistant principal has taken the Fifth Amendment, and I don't blame her for that. I probably would too. She took the Fifth Amendment. She hasn't said anything, so you don't really know. So that's one thing. The fact that they had an expert witness who kept saying, school safety is everybody's responsibilities. Yes, of course it is. But it's also a responsibility on the administrator to act, to do something. I have to tell you, in my time, I've been presented with this information probably dozens of times. Student, not necessarily a gun, a few times it was a gun. Student had a gun, students got a knife, students got weed, students got this. And you drop what you were doing and you go deal with it. Even if that thing you're doing is state testing, which is what was going on here. So that AP should have just dropped what she's doing. Or the other thing a lot of people don't realize, and some of my school colleagues will understand this, you need to have a culture of cooperation among the administrators. The fact that this assistant principal felt that she couldn't reach out to one of the other administrators and ask for assistance speaks volumes about the kind of culture that was going on in this school. I have been in situations many, many times where there's things coming at multiple angles and you realize, I need some help here. You pick up the phone, you grab the walkie-talkie, and you call for the principal or your colleague who you trust and say, "Hey, I need some help here." And of course they will help you. Absolutely, they will help you. They're going to do whatever the least the least objectionable task for you. Okay, well, I'll take care of this. You go deal with that. That kind of stuff. But in fact, you have to do that. So the fact that we have a situation where the assistant principal did not feel that she could reach out and that speaks volumes to the culture of what's going on here. That I can't believe that she did. There has to be more to this story, but something tells me that they may have just been waiting to bring some of this stuff out for the criminal trial, which is scheduled to start in May. So that's one thing. The other thing is this so-called expert witness. How an expert could sit on the stand and say that it's the teacher's responsibility to do this, and that is just beyond me. She is an embarrassment to the school safety community. She really is. Moving on. When it comes to the fact that the assistant principal, according to this expert, saying she met standards, the assistant principal did not violate the standards by what she did. There may be a little truth to that, and I'll tell you why. Because when you look at the standards, they don't say anything about school safety. They really don't. I was just looking at it. This is Virginia. Their guidelines are instructional leadership, school climate, which is not school safety, human resource management, organizational management, communication, community relations, professionalism, student progress, etc. It's kind of hinted at, but nowhere in that list of standards for administrators in Virginia and just about every other state, nowhere does the word school safety or student safety appear. Why is that? Because when these administrators go through their education, which I went through, they're taught how to be an assistant principal. They're taught how to observe instruction. They're taught how to improve instruction. They're taught how to look at testing scores and all this kind of stuff. They're not trained in how to deal with kids with guns. They're not. And I've said this before. This is a huge gap in that entire industry as these administrators had there. I didn't have it either. I just had to learn. And you take courses on your own and you work with people and you learn things. So when this defense expert says that she met standards, she might be right. So I think therein lies another angle that is just there's so much wrong with this. Anyway, I hope this helps. I don't want to go on too much longer. Keep your eye on this trial, but or keep your eye on my articles coming out. Of course you do. But I can tell you, it's just an awful situation, and there's a lot to it. And hopefully I gave you two little tidbits here today so you can, keep that in mind as you look through your own school and your own child's school and whatnot. So anyway, thanks. Have a great day.